My name is Charles Leroy Grogan. I was born in Grady Hospital in Atlanta. Grew up in Roswell on Bush Street until I was given away to my uncle and aunt, my father's sister, and I finished growing up on Webb Street in Roswell.
Almond?
My name is Almond Martin. I grew up on Grove Way in apartments. There was only 4 apartments over there for blacks at the time. And that's where I grew up, on Grove Way in Roswell.
Charles, can you tell me a little bit about your childhood?
Well, growing up on Webb Street with my uncle and aunt, it was interesting because I had spent more time with my father's family than anybody, because my grandmother lived there. And she moved there in 1944. And when we were small, I remember celebrating her birthday, which was August 15th, and on the third Sunday in each month, we would celebrate her birthday. And I remember her brothers and all the children would come, and we had wonderful food. And it was really cool. And I just remember playing on Webb Street and being entertained by whatever came up. And I try to remember friends like Almond and how we met. And you remember how first time we met? It must have been a ball involved, though.
Well, I imagine it was at the Boys Club.
Yeah.
At the Boys Club is when it was. I imagine that's when it was. When the S.T. Strickland used to take us down to George Washington Boys Club in Atlanta. So that's when the first time. I believe that's when the first time.
Because you lived right next to the Boys Club.
Right next to the Boys Club. Yeah.
Yeah, and they did have. We played games there, and there was a picture that was taken in front of the Boys Club of a lot of kids. It was a Christmas picture of a lot of people standing out there where they gave Christmas. I've seen that picture, and it brings back memory. And I was a little fella back then, but I don't remember that much of it.
Was that a Boy Scout picture?
No, it was just a group of people, and it was around Christmas because they had given us out Christmas bags like fruits and stuff.
With an apple and an orange.
But you remember SD?
Oh, S.T. Strickland.
Yeah, because
he was the cast to the George Washington Boys Club downtown Atlanta. When we used to go down there, play ball.
Yeah.
We played baseball for George Washington baseball team.
And another thing he did was when they built Bailey Johnson, just before they built Bailey Johnson, what he did was take his sister and 6 or 7 people from Roswell to Washington High to go to high school that first year. And I didn't know that until later on, but it was kind of interesting to hear the things he did for the community.
They packed him all in a station wagon and drove him down to Washington High.
Yeah.
Margaret Washington was one. She was one of that group.
Where did you all go to school?
Well, I started, and I've been trying to figure this out. The school opened in 50. The school opened as Alpharetta Color School. I started school in 53, 54. So 3 months I went to Alpharetta Color School. Then they changed it to Bailey Johnson in 54, because I always wondered, did I ever go to Alpharetta Color School? You didn't, because your birthday.
I had to go the next year.
Yeah, your birthday was, so you didn't get to go to Alpharetta Color School.
No, it was all Bailey Johnson at the time.
Yeah.
Because the time of my birthday, December, and they cut it off in September.
Yeah. So it was the same school building, it had just changed names.
Just changed names, yeah.
Can you remember anything about going to school there?
I remember, and And only because of picture. That's why I love picture. There's a picture of us in the second grade. And in the background in the picture, there's a little store we built. And what we did in that store was learn how to make change when you went to the store. And I laugh at that picture because I said, wow, I remember this. But that's about the only thing I can remember. I remember some of the teachers, Miss Simmons, first grade teacher.
I remember pretty much all of it. The first grade was Miss Simmons, second grade was Miss Jameson,
Yeah, Miss James, I had Miss Jones.
and third grade was
Miss Sturgis.
no Miss. She was fourth grade. Miss Sturgis was fourth grade. In the fifth grade,
Miss Jackson.
well, she had fifth and sixth, right? Miss Jackson, then Mr. Cochran. He had the seventh.
Oh, Miss Kane. She did third grade.
Miss King.
Yeah. Cause I got my report card and she's on that.
Well, you won't see my report card.
Did you take a bus to school?
Oh yeah. We had to ride a bus.
Mr. Strickland, William Strickland, he drove one of the buses. We only had 4 buses. We only had 3 at first, and then they had a 4th one with Mr. Strickland. And then Mr. Spivey, he did all the kids from over at Northside Hospital in Fulton County. They busted all the kids from Fulton County, black kids from Fulton County up to Alpharetta, even in the Duluth part. And Mr. Spivey drove that bus, and they had 2 buses around here. One was Mr. William Strickland, another one Herman Burst. In the Duluth area, Alpharetta area was Gene Anderson. They told me he drove the bus to retire. He never missed a day, according to what I heard. He never missed a day in 30-something years on driving the bus.
And yeah, there was 4 different communities like Roswell, Alpharetta, Sheltonville, or Shake Rag, as they call it, and then Sandy Springs. That was the 4 different communities created the school.
They Fulton County on this side of the river in Duluth is where the blacks went to Bailey Johnson. And the one on the other side of the river in Gwinnett County, they went to Hooper Renrick in Lawrenceville. That's how the part of the people in Duluth came to Alpharetta, and part of them went to Hooper Renrick. They busted us. But it seemed like a lot of people, but it wasn't very many people.
How many children were in your classroom?
Probably we started out probably with, because that second grade picture I was talking about, it's probably 15 people in there, but some of those people were in the 3rd grade, a few of them. But when I graduated in '65, I graduated. Our class was tied with the most people graduating. It was 14. The first graduating class in 1954, they also had 14 people to graduate. And what's interesting, jumps out to me is the second year, 1955, the graduation class had 5 people, and all of them were women. And most of the guys, either they joined the army or they went and got a job. But it was just strange to see 5 women in the graduating class. And, you know, growing up, do you remember Alex Sr.?
Mr. Deacon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him. We called him Mr. Deacon, Deacon Knuckles. He was Alexander Jr., Sully's daddy, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how much do you remember about him?
I remember he used to come and drive the truck and pick us up on the truck. He had benches in the pickup truck, and he'd pick us up and take us to Sunday school.
At Zion?
Zion and Pleasant. See, at the time, Pleasant Hill, they only had two black churches in Roswell, if I remember. That was Zion and Roswell. I mean Zion and Pleasant Hill. And they would have one at first and third, you know, and one at second and fourth. And everybody worked in the same church. And it wasn't divided like it is now. And it didn't matter which church you joined at the time because everybody in the community was working in the church. The deacons in that church were working in our church, and deacons were working in that church. And then a few years, I don't know if it was when Reverend Lewis came over there or not, when everybody started going full service on themselves.
Where did you go to?
I went to Pleasant Hill.
And your mother went to Zion?
Zion, my sisters went to Zion, and my sister Rosa, she was at Pleasant Hill. My sister Jane was at Pleasant Hill, but she decided to change her and move to Zion to be over there with my mom. My mama told me don't never leave your church, so I ain't never left.
Yeah, because I know my mother was a member of Zion, but I was a member of Pleasant Hill. And then my grandfather he was both. He was in Aaron John Grogan. He was
Right.
at Zion and Pleasant Hill. Now something happened and they forced him out of Pleasant Hill and he went to Zion. And then Reverend Grogan, which
Right.
pastored at Pleasant Hill for years and years and years.
33
He was a
years.
member of Zion,
Right.
but he preached at Pleasant Hill.
Well, see, the preachers can't be, they don't be a member of their own church. They're like Saban, he's a member of Zion. Reverend Lewis was his pastor.
But Alex Sr., now Alex Jr., you remember him real well, right?
Sudi, huh?
Because
That was Sudi.
he's the one that got the scouts.
Yeah, Scout.
going.
He was my scoutmaster. Oh, true. What is it?
206.
Was it 206? Yeah, 206. He's Alexander was scoutmaster.
Do
But
you remember what you did as a scout?
We learned how to. We used to camp out. We had a camp down in around Conyers somewhere we used to go to called Camp John Hoper, if I remember correctly. And we used to go to camp down there, and we had our scout meetings around here, and we learned how to tie knots and how to survive, you know, outside and stuff.
roast hot dog.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
But when I think about my little scout period, it must have not lasted long because, like, I go back to a picture. There's a picture of us out front of the school. Everybody's got on a scout uniform, Cub Scout, Boy Scout, except me. And I got on a pair of white pants and a shirt. And I think I stayed in it a year because, you know, we, like you say, the camp meeting and stuff. When we went out there, the camp, for some reason, I wasn't crazy about the camp, so I didn't go back the next year.
I wasn't crazy about it either, but Mama made me go, so I had to go.
And I was fortunate enough, nobody made me do anything. I guess when I say fortunate, I guess that's what I mean. But I got away with stuff. I just didn't do things I didn't want to do.
Now, I know we'll get into playing baseball, but what other activities, what did you do to occupy your time, like during the summer?
We pretty much right over there at the school over there. We at the elementary school. We spend probably 7 days a week almost playing basketball over at that school to dark most of the time. And like Mr. Strickland, he carried us to. They had a boys club down in Atlanta, George Washington Carver Boys Club on Northside Drive. He carried us down there to interact with the city board, and they used to have games down there, and we could they give us a quarter if we win the game, races and stuff. Shoot, we come back, we have what, 25, 30, 40 cents. We win all the quarters down there, the city board. And we played baseball for George Washington Carver Boys Club.
Yeah, that's interesting because I remember playing baseball down there. I guess I was 11 or 12, and I had to pitch one time, and it was the last inning, and I threw a ball. I don't know how many it was, what the count was. But anyway, I threw a ball right down the middle of the plate, and Mert, the umpire,
Yeah, I remember him.
he didn't see well. He said ball.
Yeah, he had them thick glasses.
And I was kind of disappointed. And then the next pitch I threw, the guy knocked it out of the ballpark, and we lost the game. But that was interesting. But when I was growing up, we created everything. We made cars, we built houses, and it's interesting. We tried to build a 2-story house one time, but it leaned over and fell. But we had so much fun just making stuff. And I hear my nieces and nephews talk about their board. I don't think we ever used that term board.
No.
Because if we saw something, we just went and did it.
Mm-hmm.
Found a piece of wood, we find some reason, something to do with that piece of wood.
We'll make a wagon. Make a wagon out of seesaw. Anything. We're very creative. We might be some inventors.
and playing basketball in the backyard and things.
And we played that 24/7, basketball.
Yeah.
And baseball. We were really, he and his brother and myself, we was always around each other all the time. We got, I remember this, I guess we were 14, 15 years old, and we wanted to play ball with the big boys. And they had a team here called Roswell Flame, a black team, and we always wanted to play with them. We always wanted to play with them. So one time we was up in, I think it was Rome, Georgia, if I remember. They carried us with us to play up there. They put us in the game. And and they had a big guy. He was a big, tall pitcher. He could throw it so hard. And I was intimidated by watching him. So they put us in the game. And his brother, myself, and I. And so his brother went first. He come back, the man struck him when he come back holding his head down. and he went second. And I said, nah, I know that he ain't gonna get him. So sure enough, he came back. He struck him out. I said, and I'm scared to death by then, because I know if he got him. I said, oh my God. I went up there and he sent me back too. I don't think I want to play with them anymore after that.
And then that guy was 6'8".
Yeah,
It looked like when he turned the ball loose, he was right.
They're on it.
And that's the first time I ever seen anybody that tall pitch baseball. They had a really good baseball team here. Yeah. Back in the day, they wouldn't let us play organized ball. Matter of fact, blacks couldn't play organized. So my uncle, Charles Grogan, I was named after him. He created a Josh Gibson League in the Roswell area. And a lot of the guys around here were pretty good in baseball. So we were competitive and stuff. So when they start playing locally, you know, Douglasville, Roswell, Mayweather was kind of a little bit ahead of us over here. And in Atlanta, they had a different league, but they kind of played each other because they had tournaments and things around here. And that was probably the coolest, because my uncle, the one that raised me, he loved baseball. He loved it. And he would take us to the Atlanta Crackers game down in Ponce de Leon. And I was laughing with my brother the other day about that. I said, do you remember we had to walk to the game because it was packed, parking with, we probably was 2-3 miles from where we parked and walked to the game. So as we were coming to the game we saw this guy climbing over the fence to get in for free. And my uncle, big fella, he was like 230. He said, "Come on, let's climb the fence." And I said, "What?" So he climbed the fence, and all of us climbed the fence and go see the game for free. And I can remember that like it was yesterday because he was such a big guy. But talking about him, since he loved baseball, he didn't play it very well. He wasn't a very good player. So when they created this league, this Josh Gibson league, he wanted to be a part of it. So what he became was kind of the general manager. They had meetings at his house. He bought the equipment. He and his wife ran a concession stand. And so that was me getting involved in it. Because when we was little, we would get the foul balls and return them.
For a nickel. They give us a
we
nickel.
give money for
They foul the
return.
ball up. They played right up here at by the nursing home, you know, the soccer field right up there. That was a baseball field. And we had foul the ball off them. And we run and get them. They give us 5 cents to return them.
Do you remember Sam?
Who? Sam Grogan?
No, Sam Delaney.
Yeah, I remember Sam Delaney. Yeah.
Yeah.
You talking about Mama Lada? Huh?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me about Sam Delaney, besides what you just talking about.
Well, he worked at service station on Canton and Norcross Street, Shell Station with Lee Barron, and he was just like I said. He took me in. I wasn't his biological child, but he always treated me. He always loved me, and I laugh at people now when I say, you know, he never said he loved me, but I know he did.
Sure.
Because he did all kind of stuff, things for me, and he was just one of those people. Because I know, and another thing, he used to take me to church every morning. He didn't. I don't remember him going to church, but he would take me, and he would always take me over to my mother's house on Saturday. He would leave me and then come back and get me, and I said, that man is always left a big impression on me for the things that he did that he didn't have to do, and. Like I said, I don't remember him going to church, but I did. I know I was talking to some other people. They was talking about on the weekend. He would always he had a car since he worked as a mechanic, so he always had a car. He would take people to Marietta. I remember going to his cousin's house in Marietta, and that lady could make some cakes. She could really make some cakes. And go to Atlanta to one of his other aunt's house. Go to his brother's house in Atlanta. He would always take us somewhere. And he was just a good person to know. And he died in '62. And right after he died, it's not necessarily his reason why they stopped the league. I think they stopped it in '63. But Amos Strickland died. You remember Amos?
Right.
He died. Sam died. And the team in Roswell kind of disbanded because those two people were really baseball crazy.
Tell me a little bit about your family.
Well, my family is basically the Martin family. My aunt had her name. I had 2 aunts, Abby and Kitty Martin. They lived across the river. I don't remember whose property it was, but they lived across the river, and they are one of the responsible. I mean, the reason I guess I'm here today because they used to help my mama. She had 7 children, and my father got killed when I was young. And they used to come across that river every morning before we go to school. They always helped my mother out. And they ever worked for the Bonds. Wasn't that Kitty? And the Malatis. I don't forget how it goes, but they worked for those. And we lived up on Groveway now, and there was only four apartment buildings right there, below North 4th and Center there. Those were the only 4 black could live with down here. I think the ones in the alley, were they government apartments?
I don't think so.
Well, that was the only 4 that had the government apartments they had in the city of Raleigh for black. And we had one of them. All the all the other ones was for white, and we couldn't live in. But that's basically where I grew up at. My mother worked. She worked for Miss Etha Bearden, a lady named Miss Etha Bearden. She was senior vice president of the bank right up here.
And what did she do for her?
She's a domestic worker. She worked clean house and stuff. Worked for 33 years.
And I know once we talked about you living in the cafe.
Yeah, we lived in the cafe. We lived in the house where behind the cafe used to be down about this little stream. Well, Mr. Lauren and them lived there for a while down in the flat.
Yeah.
Right down by the stream. Then we lived in, there was one down there beside the river where, and that Dean them used to live. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
There was about 2 or 3 houses on the side of the road. Then we lived in Edward Knuckles and their mama house.
Mr. Sarah Dupree.
Yeah, Miss Sarah.
But since I said cafe, how old were you when
No,
y'all
I
lived?
don't even remember. You know, and we lived in Aunt Dora's house too. Up there. I don't remember. I remember living down on the creek, but I don't remember living in a cafe.
What you remember about the cafe? That was your hangout spot?
Yeah, oh man, I used to love the cafe. Mr. Doc makes them splits. They call them splits. They're red hot. Splits and they had some pig ear sandwiches and some pickled pig feet, big jar of pickled pig feet. And, oh my goodness, I used to love the cafe. But that's the only place we had to go. I think he was one of the first business ever in Roswell, wasn't he?
Right, and building, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, when I was little, we would go down, like you say, the split. I remember the split. Now, when you walk in the cafe, when you walk in that front door, what do you see when you walk in the door?
I remember, I thought the piccolo was right down there in front of you, and the bar, he had a little bar sitting right there on the right, and there's a couple of little seats on the left. That's what I remember.
How about the pinball machine?
It was right there pretty close to the door. I don't remember.
And then they had that little side room.
Yeah, he had to go back in that way. Go to where his kitchen, and there's another room back in there.
And I talked to people, and they said that's where they used to court, back in that little side room. But they gambled back there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
What did they gamble? What were they, or were they betting on?
Shoot dice.
shoot down,
Oh,
play
shooting
cards.
dice, okay.
And then, now I don't know nothing about that, but I was told that.
Well, I guess because I've been old enough, I've probably been trying to play too.
But like when we play basketball, we would play basketball like on Friday night, and then the bus would bring us back if we was out of town. That was off, and then we had another game Saturday night, maybe at Bailey Johnson, and Mr. Hart would come and check and make sure we weren't at the cafe.
Yeah.
No, y'all wasn't at the cafe because I always went home.
He ran us out of there a couple of times, you know, a few times. His brother and he and I, we were real close coming up. You know, I was up there practically every day, up there. They come in. We made a vow. He may not remember.
No, I don't remember.
We made a vow. There's 3 things we weren't gonna never do. We weren't gonna never get married. We weren't gonna never smoke no cigarettes. We weren't gonna never drink no alcohol. And now his brother did them all. But he got married. He didn't do it for war. He got married. But I smoked it and got married. So he didn't violate but one law, and I violated 2, and his brother violated all of them.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I believe you.
That was a code we made. But know, I really, one of the things I really is picking cotton. Over there with Roswell, what's the
Dove Drive.
Dove
It
Drive.
was a Dove Drive. Now it's Frank Lewis.
Over on the extension,
Yes.
Waller Park extension. Up there on top of that hill, when you first get up on top of that hill, over the ballparks and stuff, from right there on top of that hill, all the way around, up through Grand Bridge, on both sides of Grand Bridge, all the way up to Hogan Bridge or Cotton Field.
Who owned them?
Mr. Hush's Summer Eyes worked them. I don't know if he owned them or not.
I don't think he owned.
I think it was sharecropping, I believe.
Yeah.
But that's how we work for. I used to work for him in the summertime.
How old were you?
12, somewhere I met 12, 13, somewhere around there. 2 pennies a pound is what we got, 2 cents a pound for picking cotton. Oh, I didn't care. I'd go pick me enough to get me 50 cents. And Jack Coleman had a store called Jack Coleman little convenience store right there, across from the old police department. Or the old police department. He had a little, it's a drugstore in there. I think now it'd be closed most of the time. It was right in there. He had Jack Coleman store. I'd go up and get me, make me 50 cents. They had cookies, 2 for a penny. I get me 5 of those. I had me 10 cookies. They had my favorite was they called them a big Baby Ruth candy bar. They was about that big then. Now they not inside. They cost a dime. I got that. Then I had a big old drink called Topsy Cola drink. It was 6 cents. I spent me 21 cents. I take the other quarter and give it to my mom. Cause you can buy 2 loaves of bread for and then some for a quarter back then. And I did that pretty much every day during the summer.
So you would make about 50 cents a day?
That's all I wanted. When I get out 25 pounds, I come out my dad.
So Coleman, was that the store, was that where Krispy Kreme? And then it became Wender Roberts?
No.
No.
It's. I'm trying to see what's right there.
Say what?
It says drugstore. It says drugstore right in there. If you're going down, it's on the left, right before you get to the light.
Oh, it was it was a CVS in there.
It's that same location.
Okay.
Right down there where Krispy Kreme was a service station.
Okay.
Oh, what was that man's name? He had a bunch of sons and he had white hair.
I don't remember.
Gosh, I can't remember the name, but he had a service station right there on the corner.
Yeah, I just remember. Now I know where the jail was, right there where the red light was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking. But another, when I could think we was a little bit older. The job that I did, because I didn't pick cotton. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't. Larry didn't either. But you remember when they was building the houses around here, and they had all them bricks.
Yeah,
They pulled
Preacher
the truck.
Green. That was
We got paid for taking all of
the
throwing them
brick
bricks.
truck. That was Preacher Green. I remember it, Preaching Charles Green. He said he two big brick trucks, and they go pick them up, and we go take them to houses when they get ready to build houses. We got to throw them off the truck. Wonder if we ain't dead, all that dust blowing in our face and nose and stuff. We was sitting and laying on the back of that truck when they be riding and all that dust be blowing all in our face and stuff. But the Preacher Green, I remember it like yesterday.
Yeah, 'cause I did that. Your hands be all messed up with picking up the bricks up and throwing. It was easy when you was on top, but when you got down and had to throw the bricks up, I think we got $7 or something.
It was a long
for a
pickup
big,
truck.
Big truck. But it was fun.
Well, shit, we get on there, we throw them things off there so quick, and so we can get back, and get home, and get that little money.
Did you shop at all the stores in town?
Yeah, we pretty much they're 5 and dime right there on the corner.
Mr. Smith.
And everybody got their grocery at Fakeries.
Mm-hmm.
No, some of them got it Reed
Well, I'm talking, yeah, oh, okay, Franklin was the first one. Reed was up there with
Right at the corner of West Street.
right, where the, what center is? What is it up there now?
Well, the original Reed was right there on the corner. Then he moved over there where the antique place.
Right, antique place,
Cause I used to go through there all the time. It was a funny little story when I would go to Smith's Five and Dime stand, buy bubble gum with baseball cards. And Miss Smith was really cool because he would sit there and look at me and we would talk. No, I didn't talk a whole lot, but I talked. But one day I was in there and I had enough money to buy me a little sporty cap. So I bought the little cap. So I walked through Reed's drugstore right there on the corner, walked through there to get something. And the next day when I came back, all them kids in the store had bought the same cap.
Oh.
Now I didn't get a commission from him selling all the cap, but I always laugh at that. But he and I were really close. I mean, he talked to me, and cause I bought probably $100 worth of bubble gum in that store.
You
Did
remember
you
what-
ever shop at the Roswell store on the square?
up here?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember shopping up there at the Royal Square. I remember the bank used to be up there around the corner. I remember that, but I
Yeah,
don't.
the store right next to it. Cause
I remember shopping in one little store across the street. It was across the street in them little buildings right there. I remember shopping in some store there, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I remember the Ross store. It was interesting. I know they had a bird in there, and it would say, "Steal." And I know people told me that, and I'm sure I was in there. He probably said it, but since I was uptown, I didn't go up there much. But every once in a while I went there. But because I was shopping at Reed's, and then Talbot's store was right there on the corner too.
They used to have the Brandon Theater right there, middle way of the block. There.
Did you go to movies there?
No, we couldn't go to the movie. We had to clean it up.
Oh.
We cleaned it up.
Okay.
I think all of us. You
Right.
worked up there.
Yeah,
I worked up there.
but she didn't pay us very much. Miss Brown didn't pay us very much to clean that thing up.
So you could work there, but you couldn't
You couldn't
go to
there.
the show.
Nope.
But that's
So,
all right.
did you ever go to a show? Was there a theater down in Atlanta that you could
Well,
go
you
to?
could go to the movie in Alpharetta. In Alpharetta, they had a balcony, and the blacks was go to the balcony. But I remember going to the store in
Strand.
in Marietta,
That's one where I sit up.
and now had a balcony too.
Had a
And then
balcony.
you could go to Atlanta on Auburn Avenue to the movie.
That's where we had to sit at. What's the name of that movie they had in Atlanta? Rialto, I think it was.
Yeah.
The Rialto Theater. That's what we had to go to it down in Atlanta. But we couldn't go to no nothing around here. When play ball, right over there, when it used to be,
The Pants Factory.
no, the little restaurant. What's the restaurant right there? Bob Dearborn.
Oh.
Bob Dearborn used to be right there at that little restaurant, right past the service station there. What's that little restaurant on the left there? You know what I'm talking about?
Is it still there?
It's a building there. It's a little house. It's right past the place they tore down. What was the place they tore down? Where everybody used to buy all the equipment and stuff.
Oh, the hardware store.
Yeah, it's right.
Okay.
The building right next to the hardware store,
Okay.
right there on the left.
The La Grottas, where it was the Italian restaurant? Is
It
the
might
building-
have been. It used to be a soul food restaurant, but it was Bob Dearborn at one time.
Oh, there's a little fish, or there's actually what was a fish place, and now I think it's a Tex-Mex that's just right above where they tore down the hardware store.
Yeah, it was the next building on
Okay.
the left,
Okay.
and there used to be Bob Dearborn, but when they first opened, we couldn't go in there. We had to
Yeah.
order our food from the window.
Yeah.
we had to go in the little window from the outside and order our food and take it home. And then they had a black man cooking.
So you
Charlie
could
Bird.
buy food from the window, but you couldn't go
Couldn't go
in.
into
Ins
the
and out.
restaurant. And what was the name of the restaurant
It was
again?
Bob Dearborn.
Bob Dearborn.
Dearborn.
Dairy Barn.
Oh, the Dairy Barn.
Yeah, and they moved it to right here.
Yeah.
Right by the service station.
Yeah.
It was right in that little hole.
Next to
right
the
this- behind
doctor's
the shit.
office. Next
Yeah.
to the doctor's office.
Right, they moved it. They moved it up there. No, we couldn't go in there.
When you
Speak-
had to go to the doctor's, where did you go?
We went, Dr. Izzard, we went to the back door.
Yeah, Doctor Elson.
And even before that, the Staples drugstore,
Right.
the doctor's office was in the back of there. Cause I was very popular up there, running in the bricks and stuff. Cause we would play ball in the backyard, and I remember, well, in the front yard really. Instead of, we had bricks for bases. So one day I slid into third base and broke my nose, and I had to go up there.
And see, his brother and me,
They were smarter than you.
we wasn't that tough. He was always tougher than us.
Nah, I don't think it's tough. It was just crazy.
Now, at where the boys club was, and then it became like the community center, did
Right.
you have like dances?
Yeah,
or-
they used to have dances at Boys Club. The VFW used to have a lot of dancers there.
And I had my 16th birthday party. My cousin and I are a day apart. So our parents got together and decided to have a sweet 16 party. And it was, again, my character. I was so mad I didn't want to go. They made me go. My aunt and mother bought me a little sport coat, white. And I'm sitting there, didn't want to participate. And because I didn't want to be
I was out eating all the candy.
yeah, they had a big cake and all this stuff. It's because I got a couple of pictures of it. It's so funny when I look at it. I said, "Boy, you just wasn't social at all back in the day."
Out there on the behind the center, there used to be a field down there,
Yeah,
and my daddy and the guys used to go down there, drink liquor and shoot dice down there in the woods. We'd be stuff on the hill peeping. We'd be peeping up, shooting dice back there. But that was behind the boys club. But people wasn't mean. I tell you what I do remember. We was having something at the boys club over there. And right across the field, there was a field there where all those buildings, there wasn't nothing, no buildings wasn't there, it was a field. It was some woods at first. And then they graded it. And we was having a dance over there one time, and the Ku Klux Klan come burn a cross right out on that field.
What year was that? Do you know?
60, I'm guessing it's between 60 and 62, I think, somewhere in there.
because I never saw them run across. I never, but I remember. I guess I was 8, 9, 10 years old. That somebody would come in the neighborhood and say the Ku Klux Klan are riding around, so go
Right.
home, get under the bed. So we would do that, but I never saw anybody perform in that way. But you told me a story once about the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah,
You said they would come with the sheets and stuff,
right.
and you would see their shoes, and then the next day you would see that same guy with the same
Well,
shoes.
that's what I was telling. I was about to say when they burned that cross over there. We went out there aside the road. I don't know why I wasn't afraid. We went out there and we talked to the guys. They talked to us. They talked nice. I think it was just these people was this association. I think one of them was had a store right there. Called it Charlie Bottom store.
The rock store.
And then they had what's that boy that used to play basketball with us? That had a store on the back street over there. Ted Gentry. I think he was one of them. You know, they were just guys who owned the stores around. I think a lot of those guys did that because of just association. Because they didn't ever try to do nothing else, you know, while we was talking to them. And then I'd go up there, next day buy some candy from the Ku Klux Klan.
So, I mean, you don't know why they did it.
I think it was association, you know.
Well, the story I heard that the reason why they did it was because it was a white girl lived down the street, and she came to a dance up there. So they were protesting the fact that she came to the dance. Now that's for a couple of people. I've heard it from two different people.
I remember a white girl used to come up, Lydia or something like was her name. She used to come up there and associate with the blacks, so it could have been, you know.
And I guess they were trying to intimidate, to make people do. And like you say, I don't think they did anything, because Sam, my uncle, worked for Lee Barron, and Lee Barron used to come and watch me open Christmas presents. And I got a train set one Christmas, and then I wasn't thinking, but when I thought about it, that train set was used. So his sons were older than I was. So I think he just gave it to him, and he come in and watched me play with it. But and the more I think about it, I'm sure he was a member of the Klan, but like you say, they were just association, a group of people that was trying to stop whatever. And because he adored me as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think they joined just by association. I don't think a lot of them really cared a whole lot. You know, they like to separate blacks and white. They wanted the separation, but if it wasn't no situation like that, I don't remember them being that bad. You know, one time we unloaded a train. James McAfee was his name. We unloaded a train for him. He had a business, some kind of business, and we unloaded a train for him. And our friend Murphy, he was a little older than us, and he helped us work too. So when we got to go get our money, he didn't want to pay us what he said he was going to pay us. And Murphy told him, say, man, you're going to pay us our money. You ain't going to cheat us like that. And I mean, I'm scared to death, you know. You know, I'm scared to death. But Murphy said, no, you're going to pay us our money, because he was a couple of years older than us. He said, you're going to pay us our money. We done that work. And that man told Murphy, you don't talk to me like that. And he slapped Murphy. That was the biggest mistake he ever made. When Murphy got him behind that desk, between that desk, he couldn't get out of there. He tore that man up. And his friend was Albert Hester. I remember. And I thought Albert was going to get a gun. I said, Murphy, come on, let's get out of him. And that man's finna get a gun. So Murphy got up off of him, and when he got up off him, he went out there, he grabbed a ball and turned around and threw it at him and busted something inside that. We took off. We was in the truck. Joe Patterson, a guy named Joe Patterson, right there, you know where you go up to the nursing home right there? Right there, in that the buildings were right there. On Highway 9 and the split where you go, the building was right in there. And Murphy had Mr. Davis, Joe was working with Mr. Davis, and he was driving a truck. Joe was out there, the man was coming out there, I ran and jumped in the truck. And, come on, Joe. Joe, truck wouldn't start. Man came out there, he had a billy club. He tried to hit me with that. billy club. Every time he tried to open the door, I pulled the door back. And he tried to hit my hand with that billy club. So I said, Joe, we gotta get him. I said, Joe, jump out. Joe jumped out on that side. We took off running. We run down by the library. It's right here, yeah. Right here, on the library, the woods right. Where am I? See that police department, right there. We came down, and went down that street, went up through the woods because we didn't want him to see us. Matter of fact, right up through him. That's where we come. And we went up there on top of the hill where the police department. Well, we run across the road, and we run down the street. And he was trying to catch us in his car. And we saw him, and we ran down to Pleasant Hill Street, where a lady named Miss Hattie Stafford was living right beside the graveyard. She had a house. We ran in our house, and that man, he tried his best to hit us. He did hit Joe, because Joe told us, she said, go back in there and don't come out.
He came out.
No, Joe, I could hear her talking to him, say, Malcolm, you can't come in my house. She was a pretty respected person. They respect her. She said, you can't come in my house. She told us to go back there, and so I sit back and sit down, and Joe gonna stick his hand out the door and see what happened. Man, popped him upside the head. Pop! Oh, Joe said, Mr. McAfee. That's the only incident I ever had, because I played basically all the teams I played for up in that, it was white. I was the only black on the team, and I never really had no incidents so much as to say. But I did have one in Marietta. I was playing for this team called Ferris. We had a pretty good softball team at the time. And I'm a grown man, and we was playing over there, and we playing this team. We was tearing over. I had batted 5 times. I had hit 5 home runs. That's the truth. I was hot that day, and so we was blowing them out real bad. So we got a lot of at bats. So the 6th time I came up, I hit the ball, and I almost got out of the ballpark. The guy went back up to the fence. He caught it. It's a lady hollered out. White lady hollered out. She said, "We finally got blackjack this time." And Ward, my teammates, he passed him a year ago. Named Hart Pillen. Oh my goodness, he did like that. He went over and told that lady so. And I pretty much been on ever since our team, our basketball team. I pretty much, well, I had a team out of Atlanta, but I pretty much been, play with all white guys. I'm thinking now, I don't know, that I was the first black to ever play recreation ball here in the city of Roswell.
Basketball? Or softball?
Softball. I'm thinking I am.
That's interesting, because I know when we was little, I guess we were 8 or 9. We didn't go up to the little league field to play ball. They had the team where the Josh Gibson League
Right.
played on the weekend, but there was a little league park behind it, and
Right.
we didn't go. But these kids from Pittsburgh have moved in apartments above us.
Joey now.
Yeah,
Joey.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would be out throwing balls. So sometimes we would climb the fence. They said, "Come on, climb the fence." We go play ball with them. So one day we were out there playing, and they said, "Well, let's go up to the little league park." And we looked at them. We're not supposed to go up there. They all, come on. So we went up there. Nothing happened.
Oh.
Somewhere in the back of our mind, we thought we wasn't allowed to go to the
All
park.
right.
And then we started going up there all the time. Nobody said anything. Nobody did anything.
They used to play football with us right there in the football field. Joe Wagner was the
Yeah.
last name. Wagner. I don't know if you know Cliff Wagner. He was a big time man here in the city. Raleigh. He's still living too. His team was the first softball team I played on. Wagner Raiders here in the city of Raleigh. Cliff Wagner.
Yeah, because his son, when I got out of the Army, we played basketball at Bailey Johnson up there.
Okay.
His son was on the team. Me, David Holland, and I can't remember, me, Larry. I got a picture of us. I think George Bird, I think, was in that picture. But like you said, Wagner's son was on the team because that was the name of the basketball team.
Was it Joey Wagner
Yeah, it was Joey.
that he played too?
Yeah,
He was left-handed.
yeah.
Yeah, Joey Wagner.
So really, sports was something that was integrated.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
We you know, the guys was I never had no problem with it. I guess I was always been one of the respected persons around, cause they tried to get me to go Roswell High, but I didn't have 1 year to go in Bailey Johnson, so I wasn't gonna go.
You know, Mr. Smith, the basketball coach.
Right.
When
Richard.
when I got out of the Army, since Mr. Hart was there, he would get me and George Bird to come and practice against
Right.
the high school boys, because he said he wanted us to be tough with them and push them around and stuff. And then, you know, they won a state championship shortly after that.
Mm-hmm.
But I always had a good relationship with Mr. Smith, Richard Smith, and things.
He was my buddy. He used to let us come play with him all the time.
Yeah,
For a team, we had a good team out of Atlanta, and he used to let us scrimmage against them.
oh yeah?
But they can, man, we had we had a recreation team, Charlie. I was about 6 foot. Bobby was 6 foot. Ben Avery was 6'2". Bernard Williams was 6'4". Larry Hanson was 6'6". Charlie was 6'7".
Yeah.
And Big Charlie Smith was 6'7", and Reggie was 6'10". Lee Park was 7 feet, and Otis was 6'11". This is a recreation team.
Charlie was the one that played up here in Roswell. You remember when we played up in Roswell at the new park? You know, he played, because I had a picture of us winning the tournament up there, winning the league up there.
Was Charlie Smith in it though?
Yeah, he's about 6'4", 6'5".
Okay. Well, Charlie about 6'7".
Yeah, he's up there.
He reminded me of Wes Unseld. That's
Yeah,
what-
yeah.
He was kind of built on the same frame.
Heavy set. Yeah.
Okay, he might have did. That might have been how I got hooked up with, you know, stuff. I don't know.
But like sports kind of put everything together. Cause I remember, like when I was in high school, we would go. We couldn't even go into the game that would come. The football game, we would stand outside the fence on White Roswell High play football when Gary Smith was the star.
Right.
And this was in the early 60s?
Yeah, it was like 60, 64, 65. We could go outside and stand out and look at the games outside the fence, but they may not have done much if we went. We just assumed that we couldn't go in. Like I said about the Little League field. And, but I never had any problems, I guess because I wasn't looking for any problems. And if they were, I just didn't see it.
So when integration came, was there a big change?
I was in the Army.
You were in the Army.
So when I came back, everything had changed. Because I got out in 68. So the schools are integrated in 60 that year. Then you probably know more about it.
Well, people could play, they felt free to play wherever they wanted to play at the time. Because like I said, I played for Cliff Wagner team, Wagner Raider, and we played. That was the only park they had up there, the Roswell area park at the time. All these other parks they didn't have.
So that was in the early 60s?
Yeah, early 60s.
Yeah, it was probably late 60s.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was probably 67, 68, something like that.
Okay, so it was around integration time.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Because that swimming pool Did you ever swim in the swimming pool on Waller Park?
No, I never did go in there.
Cause they closed it.
They closed it down not too long.
So no blacks ever went into that swimming pool?
I think unless you did it at night, when you sneaked in there at night. Now, I imagine a few people did sneak in there at night.
In like Sun Valley?
No, I didn't
No.
know, not at Sun Valley.
Okay.
That was a man-made place, Sun Valley was.
Pete Peters and a couple of other guys went up there one day. I was told to get in there and they kind of ran them off. But that, like, I don't know, it's interesting. I guess my concept is different because I didn't really try to force an issue or even participate in stuff like
Oh, I
that.
didn't either.
I could just hear what people were saying. And Pete then was kind of not militant, but they were more assertive.
Mhm.
And who was that told me that? Lonzo Allen. I didn't realize Bob Darabon.
Mhm.
He went in there. Him and Benel told me this. That they went in there to eat one day, and they told him to leave. And George Bird was the cook.
Right.
And he said that was his uncle. Oh, his not uncle. His brother-in-law,
And where was this, what restaurant?
Bob Darabon.
Bob's Dairy Barn.
Yeah. And he said they just went. Benel said they just went in and eat, and then they got a little situation. But I think he said they told him they were serving, but they had to leave. But I think they didn't take it. But that was just talking to Benel, and that, he and I were just talking, and that came up. And Benel, he graduated high school with me, so we were the same age.
So after high school, did most of the people move away, or?
Well, really, a lot of our friends passed. A lot of passed, but most people, got married and drifted here and drifted there, and most people, a lot of people here want to get out of Roswell. They went to Atlanta to leave.
Because you couldn't live here. You couldn't buy a home.
Because it was too expensive, or there just weren't
No,
any available?
They didn't want you to purchase it. They didn't want you to buy a home. Because I know Sandra, Evelyn and them, they said they tried to buy a house. Not saying it, and they said they just wouldn't. They made up excuses why they wouldn't do it. And because I never really even thought about it. Because I left in '73 and moved to Atlanta after I got married. But I never really thought living up here. I don't know why. But and most, like, when you graduated, you usually went to the Army, moved someplace else.
Got your job.
Yeah, got a
moved
job
on.
and moved someplace else. So, because there's very few people that's been, grew up here and still here. Very few. Like you stay in Lawrenceville, right?
Norcross.
Norcross. Okay.
So like Gail Bohannon? she
Yeah,
stayed.
Gail, and some of the Strickland.
She been there ever since, right in that same house where she grew up.
So it's a few, but most people move. Like Sandra Blake lived across the street from me. She moved to Decatur. Her sister still lives in it. Her sister's maybe 4 years younger than she is. But she bought a house. She got a house. She bought a house in Roswell. So it's very few that actually stayed here.
But she came back and got one though, didn't she?
Yeah,
Later
I
on.
think she
later on.
moved to Doraville, got an apartment, and then they finally was able to buy a house here.
So the people that go to the churches now, they don't really live, most of them don't live in this
Majority
area.
of them, you don't even know half of them, they didn't grow up here in Roswell. I got a few in my church that did, and it's a few in the, like, the Strickland mainly. See, when we come up, the families, the Strickland family was sort of the matriarchs of the Pleasant Hill Church, and the Knuckles family was sort of the matriarchs of the of Zion Church. So I don't think it's but one Knuckles left in that. Well, maybe two. Buddy goes there, and Benel. But I think that, and then you got Mary and Annie Ruth.
And she's akin to the Knuckles.
I'm talking about people who grew up. Mary Ann Ruth and Miss Washington. I can't. Well, Trish, my sister Patricia, she go there, and they'll go there, 'cause they grew up. But it's very few that grew up here in Roswell that either one of the churches. Most of the people who have come from somewhere else.
Now, somebody told me that Zion is more like just a larger regional, whereas Pleasant Hill is still small. Is that correct?
Well, they got more
Local.
Local.
right. They got more.
Yeah, it's more traditional. It's more traditional than Zion. Zion is kind of a little more sophisticated because they got all these people from other places. And Pleasant Hill was getting that way, and then
Then things just.
because there was a lot of people coming there too. But then a lot of the people that I knew at Pleasant Hill that came, they kind of some of them passed away, and some of them went other places. But it was getting to that point, like Zion, it just got there and it stopped.
So what would you like to see for Roswell now as far as the Black community? How do you see that?
Me, and I don't know whether I would do it or not. And when I say affordable housing, nice houses for people that they'll afford. It would be nice if they actually thought about them instead of the big houses. Because coming down Norcross Street the other day, well, anytime I come down Norcross, the little neighborhood right there between here and the library, there's a lot of those one-story houses, and then they got this big monstrosity right there, and it makes me mad to see they messed up that neighborhood with that big house. At one time, when they had an ordinance where you couldn't build a house, it was like the houses that's already there, and they changed it, and I hate to see it go.
These city people want that tax money. They want that tax money. It's just that simple. And let the people, it's not a whole lot of people can afford a $500,000-$600,000 house. People got them. And I guarantee you a lot of those people don't have nothing in their refrigerator. And they struggling from day to day to keep their mortgages up. And a lot of these houses that go to these young couples where they have those, what do you call that mortgage that jumps up when you can change it? What?
Adjustable?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's what it's adjustable mortgage, where they'll raise it up from month to month, but they'll let them get in these houses. So it's because that's what they do. They looking for houses and stuff. But I guarantee you, a lot of these people don't live well. They don't live comfortably, And this ain't you shouldn't have to live from payday to payday.
Would you move back to Raleigh if you could?
If I can afford it, I would.
So if you could, you would.
Yeah, if I can afford it.
And that's the question I ask myself: if I could, would I? Even in a senior citizen situation, because I think I'm thinking about moving, but it's gonna be a senior citizen situation.
Well,
I don't want this. I don't want that.
I'm thinking about going over to Veranda. I'm serious. I'm thinking of selling my house and moving over to Veranda.
Yeah, I think about it, but it's too much traffic up here.
Well,
and I guess from where I started, it's too much traffic. But, my ties is to Roswell. Even though I've been living in my house for 47 years. But I know I'm gonna have to leave I'm gonna have to make a choice for somebody. Have to make a choice for me. And if it, you know, like you say, that place, I thought about it too.
I said, shoot, go in there.
What place are you talking
The senior
about?
citizen place.
Oh,
The
yeah.
new building, high rise that they built right there at the bottom of Grove Way.
Yeah.
Cause both
Myrtle
your
Street.
sisters stay there, right?
Yeah, I got two sisters stay there. One of them pay full rent though. She got a roommate.
Yeah.
But my sister Patricia though.
That's what I would like to see, cause like this place is very important to me. It's very important to me. Now, like I said, I'm gonna make this change. You know, would I want? You know, I don't want to stay in.
Well, I've been
Big
thinking
house.
the same thing about selling. My daughter and my grandson stay with me now, and I'm so as soon as they leave, I'm thinking about selling it. But then again, I always think about it. I say, well, you know, they need somewhere to go if they fall on hard times. You know, I like to be there to help them. But if I get over here, they can't come now. But I can come to my house. You know, I'm lucky, fortunate my house paid for, and that's one reason that it's kind of make me not, you know, not leave. But I got five daughters and a son. And like my daughter, the one stay with me now, she fell on hard times, but she doing really well now. But she fell on hard times and had to have somewhere to go right away.
So both of you might want to come back here?
If the situation was probably right, I probably would.
Yeah, like I say, I would like to, but it's gonna be in a senior citizen situation. I don't necessarily want a house past that, but most likely, and if they would have to build some more senior citizen situations.
They're gonna build some more over there.
So I would probably do it most likely, because I look at a few of them in my area, and when I say traffic up here, it's the same situation down there. So it's just a matter of making a choice in a couple of years, I guess.
My daughter been with me 6 years. I watched my grandson grow up, and when she called me, she said, Daddy, can me and DJ come over and stay? I said, yeah, you know you can. You know, she would lose an apartment and stuff. I don't think she'd lose it, but she couldn't pay for it no more. I said, yeah. I said, how long you gonna be? She said, I just want to stay there for 3 months. I've been 6 years. So that's how. You know, I'd rather see them with me than not struggling. I really would. 3 months. See, I don't care who you are. These time she said, I want to stay 3 months so I can save some money. 3 months you can't save enough money to go nowhere. You just can't. You can't do it. Because once you get that little money you saved up, you might save up $2,000 or $3,000. But by the time you pay this rent, that rent, deposit, and everything, you're right back where you started. So
to conclude, just summarize, just say, tell me about your feelings of growing up in Roswell and what maybe you would want different, or what are the things that just made you feel that this was a great place, or not.
Well, me personally, I have mixed emotions about Roswell, and it's not. I don't have any bad memories. Most of my memories are good. My grandmother, my family, the Strickland side of my family. But if I was going back to change anything, in 1954 when they passed the Board of Education, if they had integrated the schools then, starting with the first grade and went on and on and on, I often wonder what it would be like. Because, like I said, it wasn't a big thing here especially with me. I enjoyed Bailey Johnson. I enjoyed most people always say about Bailey Johnson, the teachers cared more about them and all that stuff. But I think society as a whole would have been better if it has started that way. So in a selfish way, I would like to just relive that with the schools integrating in 54.
I really enjoy living here when I grew up, because I never had any major problems with anybody, and so I'm like he. I got mixed emotions about living here. Affordable housing for people to be able to come back here and live would be a wonderful thing, because it costs a lot of money living in Roswell right now for the taxes and city taxes and county taxes. It's hard. It's hard for a normal, person to live. I mean, I remember you used to can make $500 a week and live good. Oh boy! But not now. Now you can't make that kind of money and live and survive. You got to have a better job or partner that's making equal. So I would like for them to be able to afford to live here in Roswell without struggling.
Well, gentlemen, do you have anything else to say? This has just been really interesting, and I really appreciate your time.
I'm good.
I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
Well, we can always do this again. Well, thank you.
Yeah.